So there they are, walking down a beach that looks straight out of a travel brochure, and Rick, out of nowhere, throws the first grenade. If I'm going to drop money on bikinis just to make you happy, maybe I should just pay your whole rent too. Trisha freezes, her hand still mid-air from adjusting her sun hat, her face trying to decide whether he's joking or accusing her again. And then it hits. The look, that forced, half smile she always puts on when something stings but there's a camera rolling. That's not humor. That's humiliation dressed up as playful banter. And he does it while holding her hand, like that somehow cancels out the insult. Welcome back. This is Sarah from Sister Wives Daily, and if you're already feeling the tension, buckle up. Hit that subscribe button and tell me in the comments, would you have stayed after that jab? Because what starts off looking like a romantic escape quickly turns into an emotional minefield. They'd flown out to this island to reset, remember? After that whole mess last month, when Rick outright accused Trisha of texting a trainer, the one from her gym who apparently had the audacity to comment great form under her post. Rick swore he was over it. She gave him the benefit of the doubt. Again. She probably flew in thinking this would be like one of those soft filtered couple retreats on Instagram. Little umbrellas, sunset walks, a chance to smile without flinching. But as soon as Trisha even mentions bikinis in a joking way, hinting she might want to grab a couple for the trip, Rick's ears shoot straight to money. His mood flattens to transactional, and that's when things start spiraling. It's almost too fast to catch unless you've lived it. Trisha says something like, "Maybe I'll find a cute one that even you approve of," nudging his side gently, teasing about how he usually plays swimsuit gatekeeper. But instead of smiling, Rick shoots back with, "Long as it don't come with a price tag like everything else." The way he says it, so direct you'd swear a producer scripted it, but no, that was pure Rick. His ability to kill a moment surprises even the sand beneath them. Here's where the control starts creeping in, disguised as generosity. He offers to buy her a bikini. Sounds sweet. Until you clock the tone, I'll take care of it. But there's weight in that sentence she knows too well. It's not a gift. It's a reminder. That he pays. That she receives. And that he thinks she owes him for every nice thing he's ever done. They go back to the resort. Nothing dramatic happens on the outside. But inside, the freeze-out begins. Rick starts talking to staff more than his girlfriend. Orders lunch for himself, doesn't ask her if she's hungry. He texts through dinner, doesn't even pretend to look up when she says, "Do you want to swim before it gets dark?" And that's what hurts the most. Not the silence, but how familiar it's become. The producers try to pull a confessional with Rick. He shrugs it off, gives a quick "we're good," just different love languages. Then laughs. Like emotional sabotage fits under quirky differences. Meanwhile, Trisha's sitting alone on the patio chair, recounting the moment she realized this trip wasn't going to be a clean slate. It was going to be the same argument with better weather. And somewhere deep in your gut, you sense what she's thinking but won't say aloud. If you're always being tested, is it still love or just surveillance? Pause here, because this isn't about bikinis. Not even close. This is about a man who feels more comfortable controlling a woman's wardrobe than questioning his own fear of not being enough. He doesn't believe Trisha loves him for who he is, and maybe he doesn't even know who that is anymore without his wallet. So instead of leaning in, he lashes out, frames her humor as manipulation, her beauty as a liability, her independence as a threat. And Trisha? She's tired. You can see it in the way she adjusts her ankle strap or folds her towel, every action precise, quiet, like she's trying not to spill anything more. Not the hurt, not the doubt, not the anger that keeps getting swallowed until it puts weight on her smile. They head down to dinner. Rick's dressed like he's at a fashion shoot. Trisha's in a sundress he once said made her look too available. But guess what? Tonight, he compliments her, reaches across and touches her hand. Says, "This reminds me of when we first met." And for a brief moment, just long enough for the audience to think maybe he's turning a corner, she smiles. Until the check arrives, and he jokes again. Put it under her gold digger file. That's it. Trisha doesn't flinch, doesn't argue, She just pushes her chair back softly and excuses herself. Camera crew tries to follow. She says no. She walks back to the villa, mic still hot, but no words spoken. Inside the confessional tent, she sits down, blinks slowly, tries to start, stops, looks at the camera and says, he always does this, before pulling off her mic and walking straight off. He jokes in public, dismisses in private, and still expects to be trusted like a man who's never broken a promise. You've got to wonder, what does it say about Trisha that she's still holding space for this man when he won't even hold her dignity in his hands? Is Rick really afraid of losing her? Or is he just angry that she might realize she doesn't need him? And if you're counting patterns, here's a scary one. Every time Trisha shows joy, Rick pulls her back with shade. Every time she asserts her voice, he smothers it with sarcasm. And now, she's finally starting to notice. After all, love isn't meant to feel like a trap with good scenery. And while Rick thinks the night is over, he has no idea what's being planned behind that closed villa door. He walked out in shades, shirt unbuttoned halfway, like he was stepping onto a red carpet instead of a stage in a beach bar. Aviva watched from behind a row of travel influencers, arms crossed, trying to stay cool in the Belize heat and colder emotional climate. She'd asked him 2 things before this trip. 1, don't perform that song. 2, don't make her the punchline. And within the first 10 minutes of his set, he broke both. He opened with Vicky, the same song attached to his late-night confession about seeing a friend who turned out to be a not-so-secret married woman. That song. The one with lyrics he once called the most honest I've ever written, even though every word was a middle finger to trust. It took Aviva everything not to walk out. Instead, she stood frozen, eyes on him but soul checked out. And if anyone was paying close attention, they'd see the tremble in her fingers wasn't from the beach breeze. She had told him, begged him even. Not because she was insecure, but because she knew how that song made her look. Like the side piece who stayed. The woman who lost to a memory. The backup plan paraded as a muse. But Stig? He smiled through each chorus. He made eye contact with strangers. He danced with tourists. Hip against hip. Sweat on skin. And when she pulled out her phone to momentarily escape the humiliation, he didn't blink until he messed up his own lyrics mid-hook. And what did he do next? He turned on her. Right there, mid-note, he muttered into the mic, somebody's a little distracted tonight. The crowd laughed like it was part of the performance. Like poor Stig was trying his best while his uptight girlfriend refused to support his art. But Aviva wasn't texting. She wasn't scrolling. She wasn't even typing. She checked a screen that kept buzzing from friends, probably wondering why she hadn't left him yet. That's all. A glance. And he rewrote the entire narrative in a single breath. Later, backstage, he doubled down. You always do this, he hissed, wiping sweat from his temple. Act like I'm the problem when you decide to look bored in front of my crowd. Aviva didn't raise her voice. She didn't cry. She just nodded slowly. Because this wasn't the first time. Not even close. It was just the first time there were strangers around to see it happen in real time. And that's when the real cracks started showing. See, the truth about Aviva and Stig isn't on the stage. It's in the history, like the time she showed up to surprise him at a gig, only for him to pretend they weren't together. Just keeping your image clean, he said. Or the birthday party where she baked him a cake and he posted someone else's gift on Instagram because it was more on brand. Every time, it was the same excuse, babe. I didn't think it was that deep. As if public erasure wasn't a wound. As if private apologies were enough. The betrayal here isn't a kiss. It's not someone else's perfume on his collar. It's the kind of neglect that eats from the inside out. The type that whispers, you don't matter, but stay anyway. So now, in front of this sunburnt Belize crowd, Aviva can't even shield herself behind denial. It's all unfolding publicly. The music mess up, his bailout, her blank expression. The production camera captures every twitch in her jaw. Hair tucked behind ear, eyes locked on a fixed point on the floorboard. Women in the crowd start clocking it too. The whispers shift, They aren't laughing at Stig's quip anymore. They're studying Aviva, matching the lyrics to the vibe, realizing this might not be part of the act. And then something unthinkable happens. He tries to pull her on stage, calls her out loud. Aviva, babe, sman. She doesn't move. His words echo, and they hang there, thick in the Caribbean air, revealing everything he wished to bury. Because suddenly, it's not charming. It's tone deaf, the cheering slows. You can feel attention snapping toward her, waiting, hoping she'll go up there to fix the illusion he just cracked. She shakes her head once, and you know in that tiny refusal, there's a thunderstorm. That's the moment Stig goes from fun, but flawed, to fully exposed. There's no way to spin this into romance. No edit can soften it now. Not when his fan cam edits collide with real disappointment radiating from the one person who's supposed to matter most. The final song ends. Shaky. Off beat. He steps off the platform looking rattled. Maybe for the first time. He tries to lean in for a hug. She steps sideways. A lot of men call themselves artists when what they mean is emotionally reckless. They sell heartbreak like perfume, package drama like its theatrical flair, but they never admit they built their brand on someone else's broken boundaries. Aviva was never trying to hold him back. She wasn't even asking for exclusivity on the spotlight. All she wanted was respect. Respect for what they shared. Respect for what she tolerated. A hint, just a flicker, that he saw her as something other than a prop in his self-produced life. And when he lost his lyrics, she didn't cause the distraction. She revealed it. And now everyone's wondering, if this is what he's like when he's winning, what is he like when the crowd stops clapping? They sat on the edge of the hotel bed, not holding hands, not touching, just staring somewhere in the middle where their intentions used to meet. Rick had finally run out of sarcasm. No cameras were in the room, just one fixed mic clipped to his shirt, and even he seemed to forget it was there. Silence stretched thin for a while before he finally spoke, voice low, more defeated than defensive. I always feel like you'll leave once I go broke. Trisha blinked slowly. Not shocked, not hurt, just tired. She let the words sit, untouched, like they'd dropped from a height and cracked on the floor, but nobody moved to clean them up. Then, soft but firm, she replied, "What makes you think I ever needed your money in the first place?" That one hit him. His shoulders slouched forward, not out of guilt, not right away, but confusion, as if he'd just realized he'd been assuming something for so long that he forgot to ever ask if it was true. Rick opened up in a way he somehow never had in all their screaming matches. He said his dad used to accuse his mom of using him, even when she stuck by him, broke, pregnant, and saving grocery coupons. Said he watched that paranoia eat their marriage day by day, like trust was a luxury they couldn't afford. I'd hear him say it under his breath when he thought I wasn't listening, Rick admitted. And I guess, I don't know, I thought if I kept control of everything, I'd never go through that. That's the problem with inherited pain. It convinces you people will do you dirty no matter how good they seem. So you punish them before they get the chance. Trisha didn't rush to hug him. She wasn't interested in playing therapist. But something thawed in that moment. Not enough to forget what he'd said to her, but maybe enough to explain why it came out the way it did. And across the ocean, in a different kind of heartbreak, Aviva wasn't getting apologies. She wasn't getting backstories or family traumas folded into half-sincere explanations. No, Stig had launched straight into social media mode, posting grainy clips from the show, cropping out context, captioning everything with things like "real love has its off nights" or "Vicky wasn't about who you think it was." His fans flooded the comments. Some defended him. Others sided with Aviva. But Stig didn't reach out to her, not where it counted. She didn't clap back, didn't join the comment wars. She simply let the silence speak louder, took down their tagged photos, turned off story replies. Her grief didn't look like performance tears or dramatic IG lives. It looked like stillness. A total rejection of the circus. Not a no, but a not anymore. Truth be told, we forget how painful private grief can be when everything else is so loud. But Aviva sat alone on that hotel balcony, phone untouched on the table, makeup half worn, trying to hold herself together in a place that once promised escape. She finally picked up her phone. Not to post, just to write something in her notes app, You loved the attention more than you respected me. No emojis, no hashtags, no timestamp. It wasn't for him. It was a receipt for herself, for every time she betrayed her own intuition to protect him from looking bad. Rick and Trisha's conversation ended not with a hug or resolution, but with something far more honest. Space. He looked at her like he finally realized she wasn't going to wait forever. And she looked at him with the kind of patience that's sadder than anger. Trisha walked out onto the balcony alone. Not storming off, not angry, just still inside herself. Some fights don't explode. They just echo. And while the public claps for the comeback stories, it's in the quiet aftermath where real shifts begin. Rick woke up early, already dressed, already jittery with a plan. He hadn't slept much. Maybe not at all. Probably stayed up scrolling through resort sites until he spotted something he thought might fix it. A designer dress from the beachfront boutique. Price tag he wouldn't flinch at. Something blindingly pretty, so the whole place would have to look at her. Pretty enough to distract her from everything he said the night before. She stepped out of the bathroom, hair wrapped in a towel, and he laid it out on the bed between them like an offering. A soft smile, that old teasing voice. Figured you could wear it tonight. Look amazing, like usual. His tone was light, but his eyes were begging. Trisha looked at the dress for a full 5 seconds before lifting her gaze back to him. His posture was confident, sure of the gesture. Hers didn't change. Quiet, clear, and firm, she said, "You're not buying me, Rick. You're losing me." And with that, she turned and took a seat by the window, calmly applying her lotion, letting the words settle like dust. He didn't argue. He didn't defend. But he didn't stop trying either. And that's almost worse when they think every problem has a price tag and you just haven't named it yet. Across the ocean, back in Belize, Aviva wasn't speaking at all. No calls, no texts. Stig had to find out what her silence sounded like, and it was deafening. The kind where the phone doesn't ring at all. The kind that doesn't block you, but hurts more because you're left to wonder if you're worth the effort it takes to block. So Stig did what Stig always does. When guilt starts gnawing at the edges, he turned it into content. A tweet that said, "Men do mess up, but real ones learn. I'm learning." Followed by a blurry carousel on Instagram, tequila shots, palm trees, and a cryptic caption. Then came the story polls asking fans, should forgiveness be earned or instant? He hosted another party with the crew. Said it was for morale. No mention of her. It may have looked carefree, but it reeked of panic. Like someone desperately trying to rewrite the ending before the book even closes. He laughed louder, drank longer, surrounded himself with people who still looked at him like a star. Because if everyone else thought he was fine, maybe he wouldn't have to face the one person who knew otherwise. Aviva didn't engage, didn't shade him, didn't answer producers' nudges to give her side on camera. She just packed quietly, folded her things one by one, like she was collecting pieces of herself. Took time with every zipper and corner, like this wasn't just a bag. It was a decision. Back at the resort, Rick kept trying. Brunch reservations. A spa offer. A slow, hands on the small of your back approach. Like maybe he could coax her smile home. But Trisha didn't rise to it. She wasn't angry anymore. In some ways, anger would have been easier. But she'd crossed into resignation, where the noise stops and clarity starts growing like roots under still water. He asked if she wanted to take photos. She declined, said she didn't feel like being performative today. And that was it, wasn't it? That word. Performative. Stig performed guilt. Rick performed affection, but neither of them confronted what mattered. The broken trust left sitting in the room like an uninvited guest. Every decision they dismissed was circling back. Every boundary they broke, every moment they minimized, every tear they described as drama now had weight. Consequence. And neither man could dodge them anymore with gifts or gags or last-minute love bombs. The lines had shifted. The audience wasn't wondering if someone would cry. They were wondering if someone would finally leave. And by sunset, that question had an answer. One suitcase in the hallway. Wheels scuffed, one camera lens catching the blur of motion as a door opened. No yelling, no big monologue, no dramatic chase, just quiet steps. A woman reclaiming her own name. And somewhere between the apology that came too slow and the silence that grew too wide, someone finally said enough. The morning after looked deceptively gentle. Sunlight slipping through partially open curtains, the sound of room service clinking just outside the door, and the slow shuffle of someone washing their face in the background. But beneath all that stillness, everything had shifted. Trisha didn't leave, not yet. She unpacked her suitcase that afternoon, carefully, silently. Her eyes weren't red. Her hands didn't shake. There were no vows, no fresh promises, no teary makeups played to the cameras, just the quiet decision to pause, not because things were fixed, but because she wasn't ready to walk away, even if some part of her probably knew she might need to. Rick watched her fold her jeans and stack them against the hotel dresser like a time bomb diffused for now. They didn't speak much that morning, not because they were pretending again, but because they'd already said everything. Now it was just breathing in the aftermath, seeing if anything still felt worth fighting for. Later, in his solo sit-down with production, Rick finally cracked. He sat with his hands locked together, staring down at his sneakers like the knot in his chest was visible through the camera lens. "I don't know how to be loved without earning it," he confessed, quietly, not as a catchphrase or soundbite, but like a man who'd finally heard his own silence loud enough to get scared. Like, if I'm not paying for dinner or surprising her or doing something, it's like I don't know why she'd stay. I don't know who I am unless I'm providing for somebody. And maybe that's why I say stuff I shouldn't. Push her away, he paused, blinked. I think I project all the stuff I fear about myself onto her. Because if she's using me, then it's not about me being afraid that I'm not enough. But if she's not using me, then why does love still feel so heavy? That confession didn't fix anything, but it made sense. And sometimes that's the scarier part. When the damage finally starts making sense. At the same time, Aviva was sitting on a plane alone, her window shade pulled halfway down, hoodie up, lips pressed into the same straight line they'd held since the night of the performance. She didn't blast music, didn't post travel selfies. She simply switched her phone into airplane mode and rested her head back. Not asleep, not crying, just blank. While she disconnected, the rest of the world was doing what it does best, speculating. Clips of Stig's set, particularly the Aviva's a distraction quote, had already started spreading. Fans reposted it with icy captions, calling it cringe, calling it narcissistic, calling it what it was, public disrespect. One fan account posted side-by-side shots of Aviva's face that night next to lyrics from Vicky, captioned, "You either die a muse or live long enough to be his excuse." Even Stig's loyalists couldn't defend it for long. Behind the endless party pics and recycled apologies, cracks were showing. Viewers were starting to ask, why is he always the main character in his apologies too? Stig tried to fight back the way he always had. Passive captions, reposting memories that made them look happy, vague statements like "we all heal differently." But the difference showed in who stayed silent and who kept trying to steer the narrative. Aviva didn't respond. Not once. They'd broken her boundaries in comment sections, captions, gossip accounts, and she never took the bait. Her absence spoke louder than any DM leak or repost could. Back at the resort, Trisha's birthday rolled around. Rick had spent the night before flicking through Instagram, scrolling through couple gift guides, but somehow forgot the single date that mattered most. Not maliciously, not dramatically. He simply missed it, got distracted, let the hours burn through. Trisha didn't say a word, didn't remind him, didn't hint. She let the day pass like another test she didn't need to explain. They went to dinner later, not for the occasion, just because that's what was scheduled. She wore jeans and a tee, no makeup, no earrings, no softness. He ordered her usual wine without realizing why she wasn't in the mood to drink it. And somewhere between salad and the bill, she excused herself to the bathroom and never came back to the table. Back at the room, she wrote one thing in her diary, placed beside 2 hotel keys and a folded receipt from that very boutique dress he thought would fix everything. 4 words. Maybe love isn't enough. Not a conclusion. Not a goodbye, but a truth. Because sometimes the real betrayal isn't kissing someone else. It's making the person you love feel invisible right in front of you. It's not the cheating they were expecting. It's the emotional neglect no one warned them about. The slow drip of passive hurt until you can't feel the difference between